When the stage lights lifted on the America's Got Talent stage that night, no one expected that a shy, soft-spoken 12-year-old boy from the Philippines would ignite the auditorium with one of the most electrifying performances of the season. But sometimes, magic walks in quietly. Sometimes, greatness arrives disguised in humility. And that evening, greatness had a name: Jericho Santos, a young dancer and singer whose dream had traveled over 7,000 miles to stand under the golden glow of opportunity. Jericho stepped onto the stage wearing a simple black jacket, white socks, and a fedora that seemed just a little too big for him, a nod that many in the audience instantly recognized. It was a tribute before the music even began. When Judge Sofia Vergara asked him who inspired him, he responded in a modest whisper, "Michael Jackson. I want to make people feel what he made people feel." The audience let out a collective "ah," charmed by both his innocence and earnestness. No one expected what came next. The first unmistakable notes of "Billie Jean" hit the speakers. The crowd cheered in recognition, but within seconds, recognition transformed into astonishment. Jericho moved, not just with precision, but with soul. His spins were sharp, his footwork impossibly clean, and his moonwalk so fluid it looked like he wasn't bound by the same gravitational rules as everyone else. Every gesture, every pop, every glide felt like a homage rather than an imitation. He didn't merely copy Michael Jackson, he interpreted him. The most unforgettable moment came midway through the performance. As the lights dimmed and a single spotlight framed his silhouette, Jericho tilted his hat forward and held a dramatic freeze. The pause stretched just long enough to build electric anticipation. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he launched into a flurry of flawless robotic isolations followed by an impossibly smooth slide across the stage. Gasps erupted everywhere. Even the judges, seasoned veterans of world-class talent, leaned forward, elbows on the table, unable to disguise how enthralled they were. When the music ended, Jericho stood still for a moment, chest rising as he tried to catch his breath. Then the room exploded. The audience rose in a thunderous standing ovation that continued long after the final note. Some people were screaming, some had tears in their eyes. The camera cut to Jericho's mother backstage, wiping her face as she watched her son shine brighter than she ever imagined. Howie Mandel shook his head in disbelief. Heidi Klum brought her hands together as though in prayer. Sofia fanned herself dramatically, beaming with excitement. But all eyes were on Simon Cowell, the notoriously hard-to-impress judge who sat unusually quiet, elbows on the table, gaze fixed on the young performer. "Jericho," Simon finally said, his voice softer than usual but resonant with sincerity. "We see a lot of talented people on this stage, but every so often, a performance reminds us why this show exists. You didn't just dance. You didn't just entertain. You created a moment. And I think," he stood up, pausing as the audience roared in anticipation, "I think the world needs to see you." And then he hit the golden buzzer. The theater erupted into chaos. Golden confetti raining from the ceiling, Jericho's mother running onto the stage, the young boy covering his face as tears poured down. Simon stepped onto the stage and bent down to Jericho's level, placing both hands on his shoulders. "You're extraordinary," he told him. "This is just the beginning." In interviews afterward, Jericho explained that he grew up in a small town in the Philippines where he practiced every day on a cracked cement floor behind his house. His father had introduced him to Michael Jackson's music, playing old DVDs and teaching him the iconic moves as a bonding ritual. When Jericho expressed his dream to audition for AGT, his parents scraped together their savings, knowing they might never have another chance to help their son take a shot at his dream. Their gamble paid off beyond anything they imagined. After the episode aired, social media exploded with clips of Jericho's performance. Fans around the world shared reactions, calling him the Filipino MJ, a prodigy, and the future of performing arts. Filipino communities worldwide celebrated him as a national pride, and dance studios began breaking down his routine frame by frame to study its polish and intensity. But perhaps the most touching reaction came from Jericho himself. When he saw the viral comments and fan art dedicated to him, he simply smiled shyly and said, "I just wanted to make people happy." Whether Jericho goes on to win the entire competition or not, one thing is clear: his AGT performance will be remembered as one of the most iconic moments of the season. The night a 12-year-old boy channeled his hero, honored his roots, and reminded the world that talent has no age, and dreams have no borders. The America's Got Talent stage is no stranger to applause. It has witnessed countless acts, spectacular, bizarre, beautiful, and unforgettable. But on the night young Marco de la Cruz, a 12-year-old Filipino boy with a polished fedora and a heart full of hope, stepped into the spotlight, the air in the auditorium felt different. Charged, expectant, as though something extraordinary was about to take place. Marco appeared small on the vast AGT stage. His voice was barely above a whisper when Howie Mandel asked what he would be performing. A tribute to Michael Jackson, he said shyly, hands clasped tightly in front of him. The audience murmured. The judges exchanged glances. A Michael Jackson tribute is risky. After all, audiences instantly recognize the difference between imitation and genuine artistry. Then the stage lights dimmed. A single beam of white light bathed the glimmering silhouette of the boy. A suspenseful silence followed. The first crisp beat of "Beat It" reverberated across the room. And Marco transformed. Without warning, the timid boy vanished, replaced by a performer with razor-sharp precision and uncanny, controlled power. He sliced through the air with crisp arm pops. His legs hit rhythms that only dancers with deep musical instinct could achieve. Each movement, down to the flick of his glove, carried intention. He wasn't just dancing, he was telling a story. The AGT crowd leaned forward, mesmerized. Marco delivered the signature MJ toe stand so cleanly that people jumped out of their seats. Then, mid-performance, he slid into a moonwalk so smooth it seemed like the stage was pulling him backward. But then, he did something unexpected. The music shifted into a slow, haunting version of "Man in the Mirror." Marco removed the fedora, walked to center stage, and began singing. His voice, clear, gentle, startlingly emotional, filled the arena. What began as a dance tribute suddenly became a heartfelt performance layered with vulnerability. The combination of dance and live vocals elevated the moment beyond homage and into personal expression. The judges stared in awe. As the slow verse built, Marco reached the final lyric, dropped to a knee, and the beat snapped back into an explosive remix of "Bad." In a flash, he pivoted into a backslide so impossibly clean that even the production crew backstage gasped loud enough to be picked up by the audience microphones. Then came the move that made history. Marco executed a lightning-fast spin, 8 full rotations, and landed in the iconic MJ freeze, hat dipped low, fingers pointed skyward. The room exploded. People screamed. Phones flew up. The audience roared in a roar that rattled the rafters. Marco's mother was crying backstage, hands shaking, overwhelmed. As the cheers died down, Marco stood in the center of the stage, breathing hard, eyes watery, unsure of what would happen next. Heidi was the first to speak. "I have goosebumps all over my arms. You didn't just honor Michael Jackson, you honored your own talent." Sofia clutched her chest. "That was spectacular. You have the soul of a performer far beyond your years." Howie nodded, stunned. "You're 12, but you performed like someone who has already spent a lifetime on the stage." Then the room fell quiet. Simon Cowell had not spoken. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, eyes fixed on Marco. "Marco," he began, his voice gentler than usual, "I've seen a lot of MJ tributes. Most of them feel like copies. Yours didn't. It felt authentic, emotional. You channeled the spirit without losing yourself." Marco's lower lip trembled as Simon continued. "You were a once-in-a-generation talent." Then Simon stood. The audience sensed what was coming and erupted into screams even before he touched the buzzer. Simon slammed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti blasted downward like a shimmering waterfall. Marco gasped, covering his mouth with both hands. His mother raced onto the stage, hugging him tightly as tears streamed down her face. Simon joined them under the raining gold, smiling in a way he rarely did, genuine, proud, moved. It was one of those rare AGT moments where even the production staff paused, knowing they were witnessing something iconic. After the performance aired, social media exploded. Clips of Marco's anti-gravity-inspired lean and his flawless moonwalk went viral within hours. Dance experts praised his control. Vocal coaches celebrated his emotional delivery. And fellow Filipinos worldwide celebrated him as a new symbol of youthful excellence. But Marco, when interviewed backstage afterward, simply said, I just wanted to make my dad proud. He used to play Michael Jackson songs every morning. He said one day the world would see me dance. And now, they had. Whether Marco ultimately wins the competition or not, his golden buzzer moment has already carved his name into AGT history. He didn't just recreate Michael Jackson. He reminded the world why performance matters. Not for perfection, but for heart, courage, and the kind of passion that can make a shy 12-year-old boy shine like a star.